Hello everyone. In this particular session, what we will talk about is conditional rendering in React.js. Okay. So in the previous sessions and all, we have learned about React props, then states, lifecycle methods, etc. Now in this one, we will be learning about the conditional rendering. So what does it mean by conditional rendering is, so when you have something visible on your say the UI, right? So in the UI right now we can see, if you have gone through the previous session, then only you will be able to understand this, because in the previous session only we have implemented this particular component. So in this component we have a heading and a paragraph where a value is shown. Okay. So another thing is, so in this component, so there is a set timeout is there, which after 5 seconds updating this value a. Okay. Another thing is, by doing conditional rendering, what we can do is basically we can show or hide certain elements from React.js. Okay. So what does it mean? So say for example, we'll take a very simple example from here, like we'll go to the counter component that we had created earlier in here. So in the counter component, what happens is basically we have an input field in which we are having this state, right? This dot state dot count, which holds the value for this input, and on change of that input we are updating the value of this state. So always whatever is written in this input is always visible in here, right? Is always visible in here, as well as the data is also there in the count state. Now what we want to do in here is, by conditional rendering is, so first thing is I'll keep two divs in here. Say for example div class, sorry, say for example div, and inside that I'll have two things: span. First is odd and second thing is span even. Okay. And I'll just give it a simple class like count type. Okay. So inside this, so I'll just define some classes over here, and inside this two things are visible right now: odd and even. So basically our objective is, whatever is being written over here or whatever the value is being updated by using these buttons or writing down right directly in here, we need to show the number is odd or even. Okay. So in order to do that, what we need to do is, so this I'll just add some classes first. I'll go here, count type, so counter span. Okay. So inside span, what we'll do is padding 5 pixel, font size 16 pixel, background color black, color white, and some margin. Okay. 20 pixel margin. So now if we go and run our application, so it is already running. So you can see all those things are there, and the count component is here, where both the odd and even is being shown. Okay. So regardless of whether I change it, nothing is being changed here, but we need only either odd or even in here. So say for example it's 7, so the outcome should be odd. Okay. And if it is 8, then the outcome should be only even, the odd should not be visible. So this kind of scenarios, when you need to show something based on some conditions, or you need to hide something based on some conditions, this kind of things are called conditional rendering. So you are rendering things, rendering elements on based on some kind of conditions. So now in order to do that, React provides us a very easy way. So what we can do is basically, so here we need to use this curly braces syntax first. Okay, so the curly braces syntax, whenever you use inside a React.js, so that means inside that some kind of JavaScript expression will be there. Now JavaScript expression means that can be JSX as well. So here what we can do is basically, so here already a JSX expression is there, HTML expression is there. Along with that, what we need to check is whether this particular value is even or odd. Okay, so how to check that is, I'll just put a first bracket and inside that I'll check. So in order to check whether it's an odd value or not, what we'll do is basically we'll just divide it by 2, and whatever is the remaining part, whether that is equal to 1 or not. If it is equal to 1, then it is odd. Now this particular expression will give us true or false. If it is odd value, then it will give us true. If it is even value, then it will give false. Now along with that, what we need to do is just use double ampersand. So that means if this particular syntax or statement is true, then only you return this. Okay, then only it will be visible, otherwise do not return this. As simple as that. So this is one way of doing the conditional rendering. Okay, so here what we are doing is we are having a statement. In this statement we are checking whether the state of count is odd or not. If it is odd, then only double ampersand, means if it is true, then only this particular expression will occur. So that means this will occur only if the odd number is there in here. Similarly in here also I need to put that. So I'll put the even condition. I'll put the double ampersand and the even condition. This dot state dot count %2 equal to 0. So 4 equal to 0. And I need to complete this braces here. So I have completed. Now if you see the condition, like first condition, I am checking whether this particular expression is even or not, right? And it will give us true. If it is odd, then we'll show the odd part. Then the odd part will be visible. And if it is false, that means nothing will be visible. So this will cancel out completely. As simple as that. If this expression is true, then only the other expression will be shown. Otherwise, if it is false, means complete thing will go off. So now I'll just go to our application and see. So right now it is 0, which is even. It is divisible by 2. Now if we increase it, see, this is changing automatically. See, it is changing automatically. Even if we decrease, then also it is changing automatically. Now if you want to see the element, so even is there. If I do that, then odd is coming. Then I do that, then even is coming, like that. So whatever I do, accordingly it is getting updated. And this is a state variable, right? So that's why whatever this state variable is associated with the expression. That's why whenever there is a change with the state variable, this expression also again being run and checked whether it is true or not. So that's why, as I have already told you, whenever there is anything to do with any states in React, so that thing will be re-rendered whenever state changes. Okay, and if any changes are required right now. So whenever state is changing, this particular value of this statement gets changed as well, and that's why it is re-rendered. Okay, so this is called conditional renderings. Based on this particular condition, we are showing this value or not. Okay, now the same thing, right? Now the same thing, whether we show even or odd, can be done in different way as well. So sorry, so the way can be, so this is a way where we are using this double ampersand symbol. Now another way can be, which is, so I'll just comment it out once. Another way is we'll use the same curly braces one, and inside that what we'll do is we'll just check whether it's an even value or not. This dot state dot count %2 equal to 0. So we are checking whether this particular thing is even or not. So if it is even, then true will come. If it is odd, then false will come. Now I'll use conditional operator logical conditional operator like this, and inside this we'll add span. Okay, so it is, if it is true then I have to show even, and if it is false then I have to show odd, right? So I'll just save it. So after saving, you can see what is happening here. So it is conditional operator. Right now I am using JavaScript conditional operator, you might have already used. So I am checking whether it's an even value or not. If it is true, if this is actually even, then return this JSX expression, otherwise return this JSX expression. Okay, so this is also another way. Now let's see. See, it is also running fine. So this is another way of using conditional rendering in React.js. Okay, now this is second way. Another way is also there. Okay, so depending on the same thing we can do. What we can do is basically we can call a function and render it here. Okay, so that thing also we can do. So we'll try to do that. Okay, so what we'll do is basically so we'll define a function show type of count in here, and inside that I'll check the same thing. If this dot count, this dot state dot count is %2 equal to 0, then return, I'll return a JSX syntax which is even, else return, again another span will be there, and inside that span I'll just say odd. Okay, so same thing done. And this method we can directly use in here like this. I'll call this dot. Okay, so I am calling this like this. Okay, so here show type of count here, so that's all. So now if I go here, if you see, if I increase it, then also it is showing there as well. Okay, so there are three different ways. One way is you can directly use double ampersand, and whatever you need that can be shown. Second thing is you can use conditional operator. Okay, sorry, yes, conditional operator. And third thing is you can use a function inside which you can use if else statement, and depending upon the condition you can render that. Okay, so these three ways are there. Okay, to do conditional rendering. Now here inside conditional rendering also we have another thing. So if you see in here, right, the HTML part of it, right? So let's see odd. So right now inside count type we are showing odd or even, right? Inside count type we are showing odd or even, whatever is there. So the div is there, count type, and inside that we are showing odd or even depending upon the condition. Now if I increase it, say, please see this one, very like important thing, this one. So just increase. So what is happening is the odd element itself is not coming here. Okay, so if we want to understand it very well, so I'll just add a ID over here. So even, and here also I'll add a ID saying odd. Okay, so now let's see. So here see span ID even is there. Now if I increase, then the span itself completely goes away and odd span comes in. Okay, similarly if I increase again, then the whole span is changed to the even span. So that means if you do conditional rendering like this, then whenever something goes off, like if right now even is visible, then odd is visible. That means even is not there, right? So not there means that is not even there in the DOM tree itself. So whenever you do conditional rendering like this, right? So the JSX expression is being shown based on the expression. Okay, so that is always removed from the DOM when it is false, when the expression is false. Okay, so there is the even thing is not there in the document object model. Now there are some scenarios where you do not need them to be completely removed from the DOM, rather you need them to stay in the DOM. Okay, so that thing should be there, so both the spans should be there. Only what will be shown here, that depends, like only odd will be shown or even will be shown, but in document model, right, DOM, both the things should be there. So how to do that? So to do that we have to use something similar but in a different way. So what we can do is I'll just comment it out for now. Okay, and I will just use the span again, span even and span odd. Okay, now inside that what we can do is, so as you see, to show or hide outside only we can use this kind of statements. So inside the span elements or any element, for attributes also you can use dynamic values. So what we need to do in here is style. Okay, so in React, whenever you are adding styles, it will be like an object format. Okay, so in object, inside object, what we can do is display. So it is CSS styling only we are applying, but the format bit changes over here. So in CSS also you use dash. So here it becomes as camel casing. So now in style display property I am keeping as, so spans are generally inline types, right? So if you see span, so this span is there, right? So this span is basically a inline span. So if you see computed, so here if you go display, so it is inline. So the by default thing is inline, and if you want to hide something, then you need to put as display none. So that's what we are going to do. So if the condition is even, that means this dot state dot count percent to equal to 0, that means even, then the value of the display will be inline, otherwise it will be none. Okay, so simple. So what we are doing is, we are not directly keeping any kind of checking with the span element itself, rather we are keeping the whole element always, and just we are having a conditional attribute in here in the styling, which is display. So display will be inline if it is even, it will be none, it will be if it is odd. So similarly in the odd part also I'll do the same thing, style equal to, and I have already told you style is always like an object in React.js. So here by object only you need to pass this, so like this. So this dot state dot count percent to 1, so percent equal to 1, then it will be inline, else it will be none. Okay, so again check it. So I have used a style property, and inside that display property will be inline if it is even, that means it will be visible. If it is odd, if it is not even, then it will be none, that means it won't be visible. Similarly it is different, it is opposite in here. If it is odd, then it will be inline, that means visible, otherwise it won't be visible. Now let's see in here. So here if I increase, then see odd is coming, then even is coming. So the outcome is same, but why we did that is, now you need to see what is happening in here in the HTML. So in HTML you can see both the things are available basically right now. Previously only one thing was available, now both the things are available, just that depending upon the value of this guy, the style aspect is being changed. So in the document object model, both the things are right now available. Nothing gets removed whenever value is updated. Rather, just the attribute value gets updated in the style. Okay. So this is another way of conditional rendering where the elements will still be present in the component or in the document object model just by using just by giving it a display none property we can be able to hide it. Okay, so this is a conditional rendering thing. So these are all conditional rendering techniques available in React.js. Okay, now what we'll do is so conditional rendering we have done. So here you see two types of things are there: completely removing the element component from the DOM tree, which we have done by using if statement or conditional logical operator or double ampersand symbol, or just hiding it, which we have done by adding a style property in that. Okay, so this is how we have done conditional rendering in React.js. Now we will learn about another very important thing in React.js, which is loops. Okay, so in React.js, say for example, to do the loops one, we will create a new component basically. Okay, so and so right now we are doing all the components in here in the same directory, right? So actually the better way is we need to create a folder for each components. Like here I'll create a component like uh, list component. Okay, so list directory means this list directory has all the required things for list component. So inside list directory I will have a something like index.js. Okay, so index.js I'll have, then I'll have something like style.css. Okay, so inside list, all right, so inside list component what I can have is here functional component. So I'll be back to functional component as we do not need any kind of state in here. So what I can do here is I'll just define a const. Okay, const list component equal to function. Okay, so inside that what I need to do is I need to define the thing. Now this list component I can just export default and list component. So in the list component what we need to show, that also you have to prepare. So for that I'll create a JSON file in here. So users.json, say for example it is like that. Okay, inside users.json what I'll keep is I'll keep an array, and inside array there will be multiple objects. So objects will have name, say for example right now the name is John, and age, okay, so age 25, and gender. Okay, so m. Similarly we'll create 2-3 more data. So this is basically an array. So whenever we need to show some list using an array, we need to use the looping in React.js. So after John we'll have something like David, 32, male. Then here we can have Lucy, which will be like 28, and here we can have something like Tom. Okay, so 26. So for example it is also female. Okay, this is also female. Okay, so 4 users are there inside this JSON. Okay, so this comma I need to remove. So 4 users are there inside this JSON, and this particular list I need to show in UI. So what I need to do is first I'll go to list component. Okay, and basically for each user I'll create a small cards. So in order to do that, I'll create another component inside that, which will be like user card or just user.js user component. So for each user I'll have a simple showing UI, so that I'll create. So we are going to create a simple component user. In this component, by using this component as child component, we will be showing the details for users. Okay, so it will be also a functional component where I'll just export default, then const user component const user component export default user component. Okay, like that. And inside user component, what we can do is, or we can just call it user only. Let's call it user. So user is a functional component inside which we'll have a just a JSX here. So div class user container, that's all. So basically, again I'll just not do this, rather I'll just use the proper this one. So like this I'm returning. So const user, inside that I'm returning a div user container, inside which I'll be just saying div class name. Okay, say for example the name is John, and I'll show div class details. Okay, inside details I'll keep two things, div class let's just keep two spans. Span one thing will be the age, say for example 20, another thing will be the gender. Okay, so gender is M. So this is a simple thing we are showing in here, user container John 20, like that we are doing, and this particular thing is there, and along with that I'll create a simple CSS for this, right? So user dot CSS. Okay, and user dot CSS, inside that users dot CSS I'll use this container to give the classes. So here I have given the class. Okay, inside that class what I can do is I'll just give some details like border 1 pixel solid. Okay, and background okay, padding I'll give some like 15 pixel and margin some of that like 12 pixel. Okay, and we have another thing called this name also. So to show the name, what I can do is basically so font size 18 pixel and font weight bold. Okay, and about the details part, so this details part, this will show it inside a flex layout, so that both of this remains in the two sides. Okay, so I'll just use that dot user container, then dot details. Okay, display flex justify content space between align items center. Okay, this particular thing I have used. Now also the font size will be little less actually in here, so it will be like 14 pixel, and the color will be a bit different, which will be like this. Okay, and here the color will be as 000. Okay, so simple stuff. I have given some CSS, and in the user.js also what I'll do is I'll basically import that particular CSS. Just import user.css, that's all. So I have created this component, user component. Now I need to use this component inside this list component. So what I need to do is I'll just import user from user, that's it. Okay, so and inside this what I'll do is I'll just return once. Okay, and now let's see what happens. So we have connected all those things, and now let's see how it happens. Okay, nothing is shown because the list component we have created, this list component is still not integrated with this index.js, and we need to show it there. So what I have to do is I have to again go here and import list from this list. Okay, and directly doing this it will work because inside list by default index.js will be taken if I leave it like that. So I'll just take it and I'll put it here, and that's all. Let's see now. So this is coming, right? So the list is coming, John 20 and M, it is coming. Now I'll just add another simple CSS in here. Width will be just 200 pixel. Okay, and in the list also I'll add something like, I'll remove this, rather I'll put a div, and inside that first I'll put a h2 saying list of users, and under that I'll put user like this. Okay, so as you see like this it is coming. Now some spacing I need to give, so I'll just quickly give a spacing, then that's all. User list, I have given the class name, and we have created the style.css, so I'll just import that as well. Import .style.css. okay, and inside that just I'll make like this. Okay, so this looks like this. So I have added some styling for the list component. Okay, and as this styling is for only list component, so I have kept in style.css. Then for user component, whatever style is needed I have kept in user component. Okay, and like that I have done it. So here I have used list of users, and I'm just rendering user component, that's all. So now how is it shown is list of users, like this it is shown, but we have a JSON already. All right, so we have a JSON. Before even going to JSON, so we have, so in the user component, right, we have three variables like John, 20 and M. So these three things we need to get it from the props, because this data won't be available in here, but it will be passed from the top collection, parent collection. So what we'll do is we will basically define three props here, like name. So for example, name we put is John Wick. Okay, then we put as age we put as something like 35, and we put the gender as in. Okay, so 3 props we are passing from here. Okay, the name, age and gender. The names are name, age and gender. So these 3 things we need to catch it in here and use it. So what we can do is, to catch it, we can define like props, and here what we can do is we can define like props dot name, here also props dot age, and here props dot gender. Okay, so I'll just save it, and now let's see the data I have passed is coming John Wick 35M. And if you see in the components part also, so in the list component nothing is there. In the user component 3 props are there: age, gender and name, as we have passed them. Okay, so 3 props are coming, which are being shown in here. Now another thing, this props is coming, right? So what we can do is, this is another syntactical benefits of using ES6. So we can just destructure the props in here itself by doing this, and we'll just name it name, gender and age. So these 3 things directly will be destructured and created. So we can just remove this props part from here. So directly by using name we can access this basically. So this is also a syntax that is valid. So you can use this syntax, as it makes it is a shortcut syntax. I'll just saved it, and let's see it is still working. So I'll just reload it. After reloading also it is working perfectly fine. So now we are done with our user component. So this component is completely a presentational component. That means we just send some props to it and it just displays that. It doesn't have any kind of states or any kind of events associated with it. Okay, so that's why it's completely a presentational component. Now this component we are using inside list component, right? But here whatever data we are passing, these are like garbage data. That means just dummy data we have created and passing. But what we need to do is, basically we need to get the list from this particular collection JSON file, and we need to use it in here. For that amount of lists, or for all users, we need to list those users. So how to do that? First thing is, we need to get the list from the JSON. So what we can do is import users list from users.json. Then so this list is already available to me now. What we can do is, this user list, to create as this one is an array, right? So to create a loop in React, we have to always use the array along with map function. And as this thing is a JavaScript operation, we need to enclose it with a curly braces. Okay, so inside curly braces I am writing user list dot map. Inside map function, what you need to write is, so inside map function what I can write is, first thing is the user data. For each user the user data will come, and the second thing is the index will come. Okay, so let's just forget about index right now. So for each user data for each user will come in here, and for for each of them we need to render this particular component. Okay, so that's what we'll do in here. So I'll just remove this guy from here, and I'll write down the same thing in here. So user. Okay, first of all I'll just create like this. Okay, so what I'm doing is, with that user list I'm running a loop by using map function, JavaScript map function, and inside that map function I have a function, callback function, which is basically having for each user data and returning user component for each user data. for each user data it is just returning user. Okay, so let's see what it is doing. So so see, it is showing some empty stuff. Okay, why? Because if you go to user, see there is no props, because we are not passing any props from the list component, right? That's why it is coming as empty. So in order to pass the props, so for each user I have told you map function, what it does is it iterates over the array and it gives each element with this function, right? So for each element we have to pass the prop like this: name equal to user data dot name, then age equal to user data dot age, and gender equal to user data dot gender. Okay, so these three things we need to use. So in user component we are passing name, age and gender. Okay, so let's see now how it happens. See, it is available properly. Okay, so John, David, Lucy and Tom, so all the data are properly passed and shown. So if you see the props, all the props are different in here. Okay, so this is how we have listed, we are iterating through lists and showing the data. Okay, now there is another important aspect, and because of which you might have noticed this cross button is showing. So that is because whenever you iterate over items and show them in React.js by using loops, right, then one important factor is whatever you are returning, right, for each items in the list. So whatever JSX expression you are returning, they should always have something called key. Okay, so this key should be an unique value for each of these components or elements or the JSX expressions, because this will basically help the React ecosystem to basically denote the things that are getting changed and only update those things. So that's why it's a mandatory thing whenever you are using any loop. So what we can give as a key in here is, so right now the names are unique here, so we can give names. Okay, so if we give just the names, so user data dot name, so that will be fine. So if we just give that, so that is becoming the name. Now see here some error is coming, so I'll just reload it. So that error is gone because so now this everything has a key. See, user dot key David, this key is David, this key is David, like that it is coming. Okay, now another thing is sometimes you want the names won't be a unique thing. So then what you can do, so then what you can do is, so in the map function you will always have the second parameter as index of the elements. So you can use this index as well for key. So if I use index as a key in here, what will happen is it will happen like this, and it will use, because indexes will always be unique for each elements. So I have used the indexes. Now you see 0, 1, 2, 3, like that it is shown. So this is how we do loopings and iterative rendering in React.js. Okay, so what we do is basically whenever we have an array, so that array we need to use map on top of that array, and we can get the element, each element in the callback function. First parameter will be the element and second parameter will be the index. Now depending upon that, what we can do is we can render the components inside that and having the key and other details. Okay, so this is how we can do. One important one easy trick in here is, again, just like sometimes back I was showing you to use destructuring in props, here also you can do destructuring. So this user data is an object in here, so we can do destructuring over here like this, and we can just keep name, age and gender here, and we can just remove these things from here. So user data won't be available now, rather directly name, age and gender will be available. So if I just save it, so let's see what happens. So the same thing is there, just that the code has become much more simpler and easy. Okay, so this is how we do looping through React components. All right, now another thing is we have like after knowing the conditional rendering and the looping through the components, what we will do next is I guess so we have learned about key. So now next thing we will know about handling different form elements. So in the previous session we have learned about how to tackle different events in React, and there was a assignment also to create a text area with some text which can be converted into uppercase, right? So I think you guys have done that, and now we'll see how we can handle some other parts of forms. Okay, so for that I'll create another component, that is form component I'll create. So I'll just create another folder saying form. Inside form component only I'll have another index.js. Okay, so index.js will be there, and see, as it is a form as it is a component which will use a lot of states, because we'll be handling a lot of forms, so this component will be a class component basically. Okay, so for using class component, first we have to import the React package. Okay, after that we have to define the class form component from extends react dot component. Okay, and that's all. So we'll have constructor and render function first. So and we'll have something called export default form component. Okay, and inside render what I'll do is I'll basically keep a div, or basically let's keep a form. Okay, inside that form I'll first have a input type text, and basically here also I'll define a this dot state, and inside that state I'll keep as first thing is input text, and this input text will be here like value equal to this dot state dot input text. Okay, so now some error is giving error. So it should have a return statement. So what we can do is here only I'll put a return statement, that's all. Okay, so this I have done. Also here I am using this keyword, so I need to create super. I need to use super first, and then we have to use this. So what it is doing right now is here state is their input text, and that is there binded in here in this input, and we are trying to show a form component in here. Okay, okay, I'll give a div actually basically. So inside div I'll put a, so this is basically the preview section. Okay, so I'll do previews in here like preview form data. Okay, inside that I can keep a paragraph, and there I can keep as this dot state dot input text. Okay, so this is understandable right now. So what is happening here is we have a constructor and a render function. Okay, and inside constructor this dot state dot input text is there, and this input text state is used as the inputs value in render function. And we have another preview section where we will be able to see all the details of that forms. Okay, whatever details is there in the form, we'll see that in here. Okay, so I'll just go to the application and see it. So right now we have to show this particular thing in here, then only we'll be able to see. And I'll just add some classes basically so that it is uh, understandable. Form container. Okay, so form container is there, so this particular class we can use in here as well. This is a global thing, right? This is a parent component, so we can use in here as well. So I'll use here, so border 2 pixels solid red, and margin I'll give something like 30 pixel, and padding will be like 20 pixel. Okay, so that's what form container is done. And we'll just import that component and use that. Import form component from this. Okay, so it will be form component from this, and in the first line itself I'll keep it so that we don't have to scroll every time. So as I have kept it, it is coming like this. Okay, preview form data. Now here 2-3 things we'll do now. Okay, so the first thing what I'll do is in the form, so this form is there but there is no button, submit button. So first I'll create a button. So button type submit. Okay, and submit I'll put, and inside submit what I'll do is give me 1 second. So inside submit so inside submit what I can do is basically so whenever this submit button is clicked, that means the form is being submitted. Okay, so that's what we can do. So button is there, and in input also I'll do some placeholder like enter some value. Okay, so that's all. So let's see now. So as you can see, we have the input as well as the button, and now we can submit it. But if we submit it, it is reloading and going somewhere, right? So we need to handle that. So now the thing is, as it is submit type button and inside and form, so whenever this button is clicked, that means the form's on submit event is being triggered. Okay, so we need to handle this on submit event first. So what we need to do is I'll create another method calling handle form submit. Okay, so that method will be there, and inside that what we need to do, so this method I need to call from here. To call it, we need to create a simple this thing, and inside this we'll call like this. Okay, so we call this, and inside when we are calling this, right, we need to pass the event. So in React, whenever you click on any button, so normal browser behavior is to send it or reload it. So to omit that particular behavior, what we need to do is we need to pass the event, and we have to tell the browser to prevent default. So please do not do the default action that you do. We will take care of the form. So that's what we have to write, like event.prevent default. Okay, so after I have reloaded, I'll submit just, and as I submit, nothing happens like that. And also I'll just put a console log so that it is easy to understand that this function is being called form submit happened. Okay, so now if I go to console and clear it, now if I click on it, see, form submit happened. So whenever form submission is happening, so we are getting this this method is being called, so you can handle everything in here. Okay, also what you need to do, another thing is, as this button is clicked, then only will show this preview form data. Okay, in order to do that, what we can do is we'll show keep a boolean flag like show preview. So by default it will be false. Okay, and whenever this form submit is successful, then only will show it. So show preview is false, and when the form submit is happened, then we'll put as this dot set state. Okay, inside that show preview as true. Okay, so this dot set state show preview equal to true. Whenever form is submitted, we'll show this. Now we have show preview, right? So this particular thing we can use in here for as a conditional rendering, so that we can show or hide it. So what we can do is here only this dot show preview, and then this dot state dot show preview, and then this, and I put this. So this becomes a conditional rendering right now. So if this thing is true, and this becomes true when the form is submitted, then only everything in the preview panel is visible. So if I go here right now, preview panel is not showing. If I click submit, then only preview panel is showing. Okay, so that is what. So submit will be there, and another thing we can give is so on submit can be there, and another thing on reset also can be there. Okay, so another button will create like button type reset, and here what we'll do is on reset we'll just this dot handle form reset. Okay, and we need to create this method in here. So this method will create. Okay, and here also you'll pass the event so that we can stop the event propagation or default behavior. So here I have passed the event, and prevent default I have put. Okay, and console.log form resetted. Okay, as well as we'll just make this preview as false. This dot set state show preview as false. Okay, so form submit happened, form resetted, show preview false. Okay, now when I click on this, form reset is happening. Now submit, then when I reset, then it is the preview is also going. Now so we have, so in on the form itself we have two events, on submit and on reset. So on submit we can take care of the data, and on reset we can just delete all the data, and we can get it back to the initial stage basically. Now we have this preview also settled. Now what we have to do is this input value, let's see, input value is can it be changed? No. As I am typing, nothing is happening, because as I have told you before also in the last session, so whenever we specify some value with the input, we need to specify a on change event as well, where whatever is happening, trying to be happening with change event, that we need to handle. So that changed value we need to update in the state. So on change, what we'll do is we will have the event, and we will pass it to on change handler. Okay, change handler, so which is a function that we create. Okay, so this function we have to create in here, and in here also we need to pass the event, or we can pass the value. And so from here we can pass event.target.value. Okay, so in the change handler we have value. So what we have to do is here this dot set state, and inside that we can put like so the value is input text, so we'll put as input text equal to value. Okay, and that's it. We have our change handler ready with our this input. So whenever any change is happening, this value will also get changed. Okay, so if we change something, let me look. Okay, let me just check. Okay, I have done a simple mistake. This input text t is small, so that t I have put as big. And now let's see. Now as I change hello, so it is being changed. Okay, now if I submit it, see preview form data hello is coming. Now if I reset it, then it is going back. So as I reset it, right, we can make this input text as the initial value, that is input text this one. So what we can do is when reset is happening, we can put as this empty. Okay, so that's why this form this thing happens like that. So when you write something hello world and you just submit it, so the preview is coming like hello world, and if I reset it, then everything is gone. Okay, similarly what I would suggest is you can go through all the other form elements, and similar way you can put values and on change events and practice with all the other form handling methods, right? So form handling happens, so just to sum it up, so to handle forms you need to have on submit event for which you will have a method, and in that method you need to take care of whatever you want to do with the submission of the form. And you can have a on reset, this is an optional thing. So in on reset what we do is basically we clean up the form and we clean up all the and we set it back to initial state. And then for the inputs, as we have done in the last session only, so for the inputs what we can do is we can have a change handler, and the value can be the state value. And so on submit or on reset, whatever we do, right, whatever this form submission methods, so for that we need to use event.prevent default, otherwise the page will reload and you will not, your state will not be preserved, because that is the browser behavior. So after that we are doing a conditional rendering in here. So if something is submitted, then we are making this show preview as true, and so that this particular input text can be visible. Okay, so this is how we are handling the forms in our section, and similar way we can show the preview as well. Okay, so what I need you to do as an assignment is, so follow this code, okay, and just extend this code and create an registration form with first name, last name, gender, country. Okay, so the first name and last name will be inputs, gender will be radio, country will be a select box. Okay, and there will be a checkbox which will say whether the user wants to receive marketing mails or not. Okay, and as well as the profile picture for the user as well. Okay, this particular thing you need to develop as an assignment. Anyway, we'll try to do this assignment in the next session. Okay, I hope you understood the concepts of conditional rendering, then loops and form handling. Okay, thank you very much.